The Alien Academy buzzed with excitement as students gathered in the Grand Hall. The massive domed ceiling seemed to hum with energy, and the walls flickered with holographic displays showcasing previous tournament victories. Outside the windows, the stars glimmered, vast and endless, symbolizing the infinite possibilities of the Galactic Academy. But amidst this grandeur, one student felt like she didn't belong. Mia, a human girl, stood at the back of the crowded hall, her heart racing with anticipation. She had been selected to represent her species in the Elite Academy, a place where the brightest minds of countless galaxies converged to train for the most prestigious galactic tournaments. The Academy of Intergalactic Excellence wasn't just an institution. It was the heart of the galaxy's competitive spirit. Mia had never felt so small in her life. She was human, a rare species in this academy, a species that had little to no technological or combat prowess compared to the advanced aliens surrounding her. The academy was filled with beings from hundreds of worlds, each more extraordinary than the last. The Zorakians, with their skin made of living crystal, the Grellians, whose tentacles could manipulate matter, and the Exagel, who could communicate telepathically. Then there was Mia, just an ordinary human girl with no special abilities. Her homeworld, Earth, was far behind in the cosmic race for innovation, and here, in this academy, she was nothing more than a curiosity. But Mia wasn't here by accident. She had worked hard to earn her place. Her scores in every subject, strategy, diplomacy, engineering, and more, had been exceptional. Yet, despite her achievements, she still couldn't shake the feeling of being an outsider. She was just a human. The large holographic screen flickered to life in front of her, showing the names of the students who had been selected for the Galactic Tournament. This was the moment they had all been waiting for, the moment the teams would be assigned. Mia's breath caught in her chest. She had heard rumors that the Academy would assign teams based on their abilities and potential. Those with the highest skills would be placed in the strongest teams, those with less experience in weaker groups. Mia hoped, just like everyone else, that she would be placed in one of the top teams. She had proven herself, after all, with her strategic mind and quick adaptability. But as the screen rolled through the names of the teams, Maya felt her heart sink. The team names appeared in glowing letters, each one representing a different group of students. The top teams, Team Oron, Team Zara, and Team Velder, were filled with the brightest stars of the Academy. Those teams were practically unbeatable. And then there was her team. The weakest team in the entire Academy, Team Zinar. The screen flashed her name as the newest member of Team Zinar. Mia stared at the glowing letters on the screen, her mind struggling to process what she had just seen. Team Zinar. The team that had failed in every tournament for the past decade. The team known for its lack of coordination, its inability to pull together in the most critical moments. The whispers started immediately. Mia could hear the other students murmuring behind her, their voices full of disbelief and amusement. She could feel their eyes on her, the human girl placed with the most incompetent team in the academy. How could someone like her, someone who had excelled in every subject, be assigned to such a team? Do you think she'll even last a day? Someone whispered nearby. She's human. How could she possibly help them? Mia's chest tightened, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment, but she refused to let the whispers break her spirit. She straightened her back and took a deep breath. She had come this far, and she wasn't going to let a title or a team assignment define her. She had earned her place here, and she would prove that she was more than just a curiosity. She wasn't going to let her team's reputation dictate what they could accomplish. She believed in them, and she would find a way to make them believe in themselves too. As the announcement ceremony continued, Maya felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned to find her friend, Call, the Zorakian, looking at her with a concerned expression. Call had always been supportive, and even though he had no reason to doubt her abilities, Mia could tell he was worried. "I know this is tough," Call said softly, his voice low to avoid the others hearing. "But you can do this." Team Zinar. They're not as bad as they seem." Mia managed a smile, though it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Thanks, Call. But this is bigger than just me. I have to help them, not just myself." The ceremony ended, and the students began to file out of the hall. Maya followed the others to the training grounds, where her new team was waiting. Team Zinar, her team. As she approached the group, she couldn't help but feel a wave of doubt wash over her. The others were already gathered in a circle, speaking in hushed tones. Their faces were a mix of confusion, frustration, and resignation. They knew the truth. No one expected anything from them. Her new team consisted of a motley crew of individuals. A Grak, whose 6 arms were more of a hindrance than a help. A Thraxian, whose eyesight was severely impaired, but whose strength was unmatched. And a Pyrexian, whose fiery temper made him difficult to work with. They all had their unique abilities, but they hadn't been able to function as a cohesive unit. In every tournament, they had fallen short, and everyone knew it. As Mia stepped closer, all eyes turned to her. She could see the doubt in their gazes. The Grak, whose name was Rith, crossed his arms and stared at her coldly. The Thraxian, Azak, looked at her with what seemed like pity. Only the Pyrexian, named Lura, gave her a small nod. But it was clear, none of them expected her to change anything. Mia took a deep breath, steeling herself. She had to do this. She had to prove them wrong. "Look," she said, her voice steady, but with an edge of determination. "I know what people think about this team. And I know no one believes we can win. But I do. I believe in all of you. We have the skills, the potential, everything we need to win. We just need to work together." There was silence. Then Wraith scoffed. "Work together? How are we supposed to do that? We've been failing for years, and one human isn't going to change that." Mia held his gaze. "I'm not here to change anything on my own, but I believe that if we give it everything we've got, if we push each other to be better, we can do it. We can win." The team didn't respond. They just stared at her, their expressions unreadable. Mia could feel the weight of their doubt pressing down on her, but she couldn't give up now. Not when they needed her the most. As they walked toward their first training session together, Mia couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something bigger. She wasn't just fighting for her place in the academy. She was fighting for the belief that Team Zinar could succeed. Against all odds, she was going to make them believe. And as they entered the training arena, the sound of their footsteps echoed through the halls, loud and resolute, signaling that the first step toward victory had just begun. The first few days after the team assignment felt like a blur to Mia. The excitement of being part of the Academy's Galactic Tournament was overshadowed by the overwhelming sense of doubt hanging over her new team. Every training session felt like an uphill battle, each one more exhausting than the last. The team members, though technically gifted, struggled to coordinate. Their trust in one another was non-existent, and the thought of winning, let alone succeeding, seemed more and more distant with every passing hour. Mia sat alone in the corner of the training room, her fingers drumming against the metallic surface of the table. Her mind raced as she watched her teammates spar, trying to improve their coordination for the upcoming rounds. They were all skilled in their own ways, but they couldn't seem to make it work when it counted. Every time they tried to synchronize, there was an error. Someone was too slow, someone missed their cue, or someone's temper flared. She glanced at Rith, the Grak, who was standing in the middle of the sparring circle. His 6 arms were flailing in all directions as he tried to land a hit on Azak, the Thraxian. The fight was chaotic, with no semblance of strategy. The team members weren't just failing as a unit, they were actively making things worse by trying to go at it alone. Mia's heart sank. She had known it would be hard. But this was more than she had expected. She was determined to turn things around, but it was clear that the team had no faith in each other, let alone in her. She was just the human girl who had been tossed into their mix. "Rith, Azak, stop," Mia called out, her voice carrying across the room. This isn't how we win. Fighting against each other doesn't help. The two stopped mid-swing, breathing heavily. Rith let out a growl, his 6 arms lowering to his sides. Azak narrowed his eyes and growled in response, his deep voice vibrating through the room. I don't see how this will make us better, Rith muttered. We're not winning any tournament if we keep pretending to be a team. Mia stood up, crossing the room with determination. She had to keep them engaged, keep them from giving up. Look, I know this is tough. But we have something they don't. We're different, all of us. We have the ability to adapt and learn quickly, but we have to trust each other. All of you have something unique to offer, but none of it matters if we can't come together. Azak scoffed. You think just talking is going to fix us? We've been training for years, and we've never gotten it right. Why would we start now? Mia's gaze hardened. She didn't back down. Because this time, we're going to do it together. I'm not asking you to like each other. I'm asking you to work as a team. Trust me, we can do this. There was silence, thick with the weight of their doubts. None of them spoke, and for a moment, Maya thought they might just walk away. But then Lura, the Pyrexian, stepped forward, her eyes blazing with quiet intensity. I don't believe we can do this either, Lura said softly, but with an edge to her voice. But I think we should try. For once. I'll follow your lead, Mia. Mia's heart fluttered with hope. It was a small step, but it was something. Thank you, Lura, she said, her voice filled with gratitude. That means a lot. With Lura's reluctant agreement, Mia knew the next step was getting the team to start working together. It wasn't going to happen overnight, but she had to find a way to break down the walls between them. They needed a common goal, something to unite them. And for that, she knew they needed to start with the basics. The following morning, Mia gathered her team at the training grounds. This time, she had a plan. We're going to focus on teamwork, she said, her tone firm but encouraging. We'll practice communication, coordination, and trust. We'll start slow, and we'll build up from there. The team looked at each other, skeptical, but Mia could see a flicker of something in their eyes, a hint of curiosity, a spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, they were starting to believe. The first few exercises were rough. Mia had them pair off, but the connections were weak. The Thraxian, Azak, had difficulty following Lura's instructions, often misjudging the timing. Rith, with his 6 arms, was too aggressive, knocking into his teammates without meaning to. But Mia didn't give up. She stayed patient, coaching them through each mistake, encouraging them to try again. By the end of the day, the team had made little progress, but Mia could sense a subtle shift. They weren't yelling at each other anymore. There were no more angry glares or frustrated growls. Instead, there was a tentative cooperation, a willingness to try again, even if it meant failing once more. But Mia knew that wasn't enough. They needed to break down the emotional barriers, the deeply ingrained distrust, before they could truly function as a team. That night, she called a meeting. Everyone was exhausted, but Mia insisted on talking. I know this has been frustrating, she said, her voice quiet but firm. I can't make you trust each other overnight, but I can ask you to try. I need all of you to share something with the team. Something personal. Something that will help us understand each other better. The team looked at her, hesitant. Azak crossed his arms, clearly not excited by the idea, while Rith shifted uncomfortably. Lura, however, was the first to speak. I'll start, Lura said, her voice soft but clear. I've always been told to control my temper. In my world, Pyrexians are known for their rage. I've been trained to harness that anger, but sometimes it still gets the best of me. I don't like it, and I don't want to hurt anyone here. Mia nodded, understanding the vulnerability Lura had shown. Thank you, Lura. That helps us understand you better. Azak sighed but uncrossed his arms. Fine. I'll go next. I'm not good with people. I grew up in a world where trust was rare, and I learned to rely only on myself. It's hard to let anyone else in, especially when I've seen what happens when you do." Wraith growled low in his throat. "I'm a Grak. We're not exactly known for subtlety. I've always had 6 arms, and it's made me a little reckless. I've hurt people without meaning to. That's why I don't trust anyone." Mia's heart ached for them. They weren't just struggling with the tournament. They were struggling with themselves. "Thank you all for sharing," Maya said, her voice gentle. "I want you to know that I'm not here to judge any of you. I'm here to help you find your strength, your team's strength. We'll move forward, but we'll move forward together." The room was silent for a moment, and for the first time, Mia felt like her team wasn't just there out of obligation. They were starting to trust her, even if it was just a little bit. But the next morning, the struggles began again. In their first real practice, they still faltered. There were moments of brilliance where their abilities seemed to merge, but there were more moments where things fell apart. Rith would crash into Azak during a drill, and Azak would snap, losing his focus. Lura's temper would flare when she felt like things weren't moving fast enough. It was exhausting. The same mistakes kept happening, over and over. It felt like no matter how much Mia pushed them, they were stuck in a cycle of failure. But Mia wouldn't give up. She knew she couldn't. They were all they had. And she still believed in them. The days dragged on, each one blending into the next. Training had become a constant cycle of struggles and setbacks. Mia could feel her patience wearing thin as she worked tirelessly with her team. Despite the improvements they had made, their weaknesses still overshadowed their strengths. The glimmer of hope she had once felt was slowly dimming, but Maya refused to give up. She believed in them, and she had to make them believe in themselves too. It was the morning of the final qualification round for the Galactic Tournament. The team was gathered in their training room, preparing for their next big challenge. Maya stood in front of them, trying to hide the weight of her exhaustion. She had pushed them hard over the past few weeks, but nothing seemed to stick. They were still the team that no one believed in, still the group of misfits that could never get their act together. Yet today, something felt different. "All right, everyone, gather up," Maya said, trying to muster some energy. "This is the last chance. We've been through a lot, and I know it hasn't been easy, but today we make it count." The team looked at her, their expressions mixed with doubt and resignation. Azak, the Thraxian, crossed his arms over his chest and let out a deep sigh. "We've been through this 100 times, Azak muttered. "I don't see why today will be any different." Mia met his gaze. "Because today, we're not just going to try. We're going to do. We've all got something to prove, not just to the Academy, but to ourselves." Rith, the Grak, glared at the floor. "What's the point, Mia? We've never succeeded before. Why would we start now?" Lura, the Pyrexian, stepped forward, her voice steady but tinged with frustration. "We've tried everything, Mia. I don't know if there's anything left." Mia felt a pang of doubt, but she pushed it aside. They were right, in a way. Every attempt had ended in failure. But it wasn't enough to stop her. "I know you're all tired, and I know we've failed before. But that's not who we are. We are a team, and we will fight for each other. We will give everything we've got today." Her voice was unwavering, and for a moment, she saw something shift in their eyes. Maybe it was the way she said it, or maybe it was the realization that they had nothing left to lose. Whatever it was enough to break through their doubts. Azak uncrossed his arms and stood a little straighter. Rith shifted his weight, clearly uncomfortable, but not backing down. Lura let out a deep breath, the tension in her face easing slightly. Mia could feel it. This was the turning point. This was the moment where everything changed. They began their practice session, starting with simple drills. Mia watched as each team member struggled to maintain their focus. But there was something different in the air now. Instead of their usual complaints and resistance, there was a quiet determination. Rith was still too aggressive, but he was holding back just enough to not knock anyone out. Isaac's timing was still off, but he was more aware of his movements. Lura, despite her fiery nature, was beginning to control her temper, channeling it into the exercises. Mia didn't push them too hard that day. She knew that if she demanded too much, they would break. But she did insist on one thing. They needed to communicate. In every drill, she made them call out instructions to one another, forcing them to pay attention to each other's movements. At first, it was awkward. They stumbled over their words and made mistakes. But as they continued, something amazing began to happen. They were starting to coordinate. Rith was learning to use his strength in ways that helped the team rather than hindered it. Isaac's impaired sight became less of a disadvantage as he relied more on the feedback from his teammates. Lura, instead of unleashing her temper, used her fiery energy to fuel the group, pushing them all to try harder. By the end of the session, Mia was exhausted, but for the first time, she felt a flicker of hope. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. As they gathered for a brief rest, Maya saw that the team was different. They weren't just showing up anymore. They were showing up for each other. There was a quiet understanding between them now, a new connection that hadn't been there before. Rith spoke up first. "I didn't think I could do it," he admitted, his voice gruff. "But I think we can win this, if we work together." Isaac nodded slowly, his expression softening. "You're right. I've been too focused on myself. Maybe it's time I learned to trust you all." Lura glanced at the others, then at Mia. "I've always thought I could do it alone, but I see now that we're stronger when we're together." Mia felt a surge of pride in her chest. This was what she had been working for. They had finally started to believe. They had finally started to trust each other. As they rested, Mia sat down with them. She felt the weight of the moment settling in. They were on the edge of something big. The final qualification round wasn't going to be easy, but for the first time, Mia felt like they had a chance. Later that evening, as the team prepared for the next day's battle, Mia sat alone in her quarters, looking over the plans for the tournament. The stakes were higher than ever. They were going to face teams with decades of experience, and many of them had never lost a round. But Mia wasn't scared. For the first time, she felt prepared. Her team had come a long way, and they weren't going to let anything stand in their way. The next day, the qualification round began. The Academy's enormous arena was filled with spectators from across the galaxy, and Mia could feel the weight of the eyes on her team. The atmosphere was electric, and the pressure was suffocating. Every match was critical, and one wrong move could cost them everything. The first match was against one of the top teams, Team Veldor, a squad of seasoned warriors known for their speed and precision. The crowd was buzzing with excitement, eagerly waiting to see how Maya's team would fare against the undefeated champions. Most people expected a quick defeat, but Mia wasn't worried. The match started, and Mia's heart raced as the team faced off against Veldor. The first few minutes were intense. Rith clashed with the Veldorian warrior, his arms moving in rapid, powerful strikes. Isaac stayed in the background, relying on his teammates for guidance, while Lura used her fiery speed to dart around the Veldorians, landing quick, powerful blows. Mia watched intently, giving instructions where needed. Her eyes were sharp, noticing the smallest details, the way the Veldorian team relied on their speed, but left openings in their defense. She noticed how Rith's brute force could be used to counter their agility, how Isaac's careful strategy could exploit those openings. As the match wore on, Maya's team began to gain ground. They were moving in sync, communicating, trusting each other. The Veldorian team, known for its precision, was slowly being worn down by Team Zinar's unorthodox approach. And then it happened. In the final moments of the match, Rith managed to land a devastating blow to the Veldorian captain, sending him sprawling. Isaac took the opportunity to knock the Veldorian's ally off balance, leaving Lura to deliver the final blow. The Veldorian team was stunned. They had never seen an underdog team move with such coordination, such strategy. The arena erupted into applause as the referee declared Team Xanar the winner. Mia's heart soared. They had done it. They had won. The team collapsed together in a heap, laughing and cheering. Their hard work, their trust, had paid off. They had turned the impossible into reality. In that moment, they knew they weren't just a team anymore. They were a force to be reckoned with. But more than the victory, Mia knew that this was the true turning point. They had not just defeated an unbeatable team. They had defeated their own doubts, their own insecurities. They had proven that no matter how weak a team might seem, with the right leadership, trust, and determination, they could achieve greatness. And now, with the tournament just beginning, Mia knew that the real challenge was still ahead. But whatever happened, her team had already won the most important battle of all, the battle to believe in themselves. The days leading up to the final match of the Galactic Tournament were a blur of excitement and nerves. The academy buzzed with anticipation. Students from across the galaxy had gathered to witness the most awaited event in the universe. But as the team prepared for the ultimate challenge, Mia couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the edge of something monumental. Team Xanar had done the impossible. They had defeated the undefeated. They had taken down Team Velder, one of the most respected and feared teams in the tournament. The victory was shocking to everyone. But for Mia and her team, it wasn't just about the win. It was about proving to themselves that they were capable of more than anyone had ever believed. But now came the real test. They had made it to the final round. The prize was within reach, but so was the challenge of facing the most formidable team in the tournament, Team Oran. Known for their unbreakable unity, their incredible strategy, and their unmatched skill, Team Oran had dominated every team in the tournament with ruthless precision. No one had come close to beating them. And yet Maya stood with her team, feeling a sense of calm wash over her. This was it, the moment they had worked for, the moment she had believed in. She knew that if they kept their heads, if they remembered everything they had learned and fought for, they had a chance. The final match would take place in the grandest arena in the galaxy, a massive floating stadium surrounded by the shimmering stars of the galaxy's core. The audience stretched as far as the eye could see, and the arena itself was an intricate high-tech battlefield that could change its terrain with the press of a button. From futuristic cities to harsh alien landscapes, the environment could shift, creating the most unpredictable challenges. Maya stood at the edge of the arena with her team, their faces grim but determined. Team Oran had already taken their positions, exuding an air of confidence that made the crowd buzz with excitement. They were a sight to behold, perfectly synchronized in their sleek, silver uniforms, their weapons gleaming under the stadium lights. Each member of Team Oran was a master of their craft, and the thought of facing them made even the most seasoned warriors nervous. But Mia was different now. She no longer saw herself as the outsider, the human who didn't belong. She was a leader, and more importantly, she was a part of a team. They were no longer the weak team. They were Team Xanar, a force to be reckoned with. Mia, Wraith said quietly, his 6 arms twitching with anticipation. This is it. We've come a long way. Mia nodded, her voice steady. This is where we prove what we're made of. We've earned this. Azak, ever the skeptic, looked at the opposing team. They're perfect. We don't stand a chance against them. Lura's fiery eyes sparkled with determination. That's what they want us to believe. We've faced worse odds before, and we've come out on top. Let's do this. Mia smiled at her team. They were finally speaking the same language. They were no longer uncertain. They were a united front, ready to take on the impossible. They had spent weeks training, overcoming their doubts, their fears, their differences. They had become a team. And that was what would win this match, not just their abilities, but their bond. The match began. The arena shifted, changing from a calm, grassy plain to a rocky, uneven battlefield. Maya's team had to adapt quickly. The ground was slippery, the rocks jagged, and visibility was limited by sudden fog that blanketed the field. It was a test of strategy and adaptability. Mia's heart pounded in her chest as she surveyed the battlefield. Her team's strength was in their unpredictability. While Team Oron relied on their meticulous, flawless strategies, Team Zinar had learned to be fluid, to adjust on the fly, to trust each other when things went wrong. This was their advantage. "Mia, where do we go?" Lura asked, her voice full of adrenaline. "Stay together," Mia shouted back, keeping her voice calm despite the chaos around them. "Focus on their weaknesses. They may be perfect, but they're predictable. We're not." The team moved in unison, shifting their positions as they worked to control the environment. Azak, despite his impaired vision, moved with surprising grace, following the sounds of his teammates' movements. Wraith used his immense strength to move debris and clear paths for the others, while Lura darted around, using her speed to confuse their enemies. Mia kept a sharp eye on the shifting terrain, adapting their strategy as the environment changed. Team Oron made their move, charging toward them with deadly precision. The leader, Oron C, moved like a shadow, his sleek armor blending seamlessly with the surroundings. His weapon, a long energy spear, crackled with power as he lunged toward Rith. Rith swung his arms in a blur, trying to catch Oron C off guard. But the Oron leader was too fast. He sidestepped with ease, his spear flashing toward Rith's chest. But before the blow could land, Mia called out, "Rith, move." Wraith's instincts kicked in. He ducked just in time, narrowly avoiding the spear's deadly point. Azak, who had been waiting for the moment, threw a rock at Oron C, momentarily disorienting him. "Now, Lura," Mia shouted. Lura was already in motion, a blur of red as she rushed toward Oron C, her fiery energy crackling around her. She darted behind him, using the fog to her advantage, and launched herself into a powerful strike. The attack caught Oron C off guard, sending him stumbling back. It was their first victory, small, but significant. Team Zinar had done what no one thought possible. They had disrupted Team Oron's flawless plan. But Team Oron wasn't about to give up so easily. They recovered quickly, regrouping and attacking with renewed force. The battle became a blur of energy blasts, physical confrontations, and shifting terrain. The atmosphere was electric, the audience watching in stunned silence as they witnessed the most unpredictable match of the tournament. As the battle raged on, Mia kept her focus, giving orders, directing her team, and watching for any opportunity to exploit the enemy's weaknesses. She could feel the sweat dripping down her face, the tension in her muscles, but she refused to give in. They couldn't afford to. Minutes felt like hours, and the fight was beginning to take its toll. Rith's massive body was covered in bruises, and Azak's breathing was labored. Lura's movements were becoming slower, her energy burning out. But still, they pressed on. With one final push, Maya saw her chance. Team Oron had overextended themselves. Their movements, once flawless, were starting to show signs of wear. They were making mistakes, small ones, but enough for Mia to capitalize on. She raised her hand, signaling her team to fall back. "Now, we end this." Rith, Azak, and Lura moved as one, positioning themselves to trap Oron C. Mia charged forward, her eyes locked on the leader. She had been waiting for this moment, the moment when they could take down the leader and break the team's cohesion. Oron C was fast, but Mia was faster. She reached him just as he attempted to strike, dodging his spear and landing a powerful blow to his side. The impact sent him stumbling, and in that moment of vulnerability, Azak and Rith closed in, taking advantage of his exposed weakness. It was a coordinated attack, quick, efficient, and precise. In a matter of seconds, Oron C was down, disarmed, and on the ground. The arena fell silent. For a moment, no one moved. Then the referee stepped forward, raising his hand. Team Zenara wins, the referee declared, his voice booming across the arena. The crowd erupted into deafening applause. Maya stood frozen for a moment, her heart pounding in her chest. They had done it. They had won. Her team rushed forward, lifting her off the ground in a triumphant hug. They were laughing, crying, shouting in victory. For the first time, Maya saw them, really saw them. As a family, they had fought together, built together, and now they were victorious together. You did it, Lure yelled, her voice full of exhilaration. Rith smiled, his face full of pride. We did it, Mia. We really did it. Azak gave a rare smile, his eyes glinting with a mix of awe and pride. This is what it's all about. Mia looked at her team, her heart swelling with pride. They had become something greater than she had ever imagined. They had defied the odds, shattered the expectations, and proven that no team was too weak to win. As they stood together, victorious, Mia knew that this was just the beginning. The Galactic Tournament had been their first battle, but there would be many more challenges ahead. But with this team, this family, by her side, Mia was ready to face whatever came next. And as the arena lights dimmed and the crowd's cheers faded into the night, Mia felt a deep sense of fulfillment. This victory wasn't just about winning a tournament. It was about belief. It was about believing in each other, in themselves, and in the power of unity. And that, she knew, was the greatest victory of all.